All right, so Rudy Giuliani, former disgraced mayor of New York, former disgraced lawyer of Donald Trump, he was one of the main guys saying that the election was stolen back in 2020, and he really went to bat for Donald Trump. Like he went into courts, he went on every TV station possible, and just yelled to the clouds, "Hey, this election's stolen, man!" And he racked up a lot of charges, a lot of charges. We'll get into that in a second here. But he ended up getting a pardon when Donald Trump became president, so he's one of the guys that got out of it. But here, right before Christmas, not too long after his pardon, he is literally back at the same thing that almost landed him in prison.
115,000 votes were pulled out of Fulton County because they were illegal, as they should have been. Trump would have won the election. I really do expect now that the people that attacked me over Georgia will come and kiss my feet. Nothing less is acceptable. I told you that was screwed up, and I am right. It was screwed up. I told you that he won that state. And when the president said to the slimy Secretary of State, you can't find me 11,000 votes, he's talking about a potential couple of 100,000 here. If you just take those votes out, right, you deprive him of about 100.
Can you explain that to me? He asked for 11,000 votes, the exact number that he needed to win, and now he's like, no. He's talking about over 100,000. I don't even know if I should make this point. Everyone knows that this guy is a complete fool.
45,000 votes, and then he loses by 135,000, and Trump wins Georgia. They got to get that wrongfully out of there. That's an opinion, boys, not the reality. The reality is that you can now say with a certitude, even beyond a reasonable doubt, that Georgia voted for 315,000 votes.
315. It could be a combination of being drunk and his false teeth. But let's just I don't want to be spreading any conspiracies or any false information on the internet here, so let's just take a look. This was a Gronk search, by the way. The one that Elon did. So there is like some issues with some votes in Florida. I guess there's 300,000 votes that are up in question right now. But let's see what the explanation is. This does not mean that Trump won the 2020 election in Georgia or that the results should be overturned. Here's why. The violation is procedural, not evidence of fraud. The missing signatures break the chain of custody for certifying machine results, but multiple audits, recounts, including the full hand count, and investigations in Georgia have repeatedly confirmed the accuracy of the 2020 vote totals. Biden's margin of victory was about 12,000 votes, and no proof has emerged that this specific issue altered any ballots or counts. Fulton County, a Democratic stronghold where Biden received over 72% of the vote, accounted for these early votes, but decertifying them now, 5 years later, wouldn't retroactively change the certified outcome, as the election has long been settled legally. Here's some context. So, investigator David Cross, who uncovered the issue after years of records requests, argued that the votes were uncertified due to the unsigned tapes, and called for sanctions on the county, including public acknowledgement of violations. SCB officials described the lapses as egregious, but focused on accountability rather than relitigating the election. There's no indication from official statements that this invalidates the results or proves widespread irregularities that would flip the state to Trump. Ongoing developments. The judge recently allowed state election board to subpoena Fulton County's ballots and records for further review, and the U.S. Department of Justice under the current administration has sued the county to obtain related materials. This could lead to more scrutiny of penalties, but it's tried to transparency and compliance, not undoing the certification. So basically, what the only litigation that really exists here is I'm not sure exactly what it is, but like the signatures weren't on the right spot on the envelope or something procedural like that. Like it doesn't change who they voted for or anything like that. In short, while the admission highlights real administrative failures in Fulton County, it doesn't quite equate to proof that the election was stolen or that Trump was the rightful winner. Claims suggesting otherwise often come from partisan sources and overlook the extensive post-election verifications that held Biden's win. Well, Gronk's super biased, so I'm not sure if I could really believe that. But just to remind you guys, Rudy Giuliani, how comically inept this guy was. You guys remember at the press conference when he had his hair dye bleeding down. That was a real thing. That happened. But it just, he really, I don't know. I think he really does believe that the election was stolen. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many, he wouldn't have been charged with so many things. So some of his charges, he was, first was civil defamation, when he was going around Georgia saying that this person was hiding ballots. You can see on the camera here, this is their name. He was being sued for defamation there. Turns out actually he did lose that, and he's ordered to pay $148 million. That's right. He's spreading lies about Ruby Friedman and Shay Moss, causing them harassment and threats. He's got to pay them $148 million. He was held in contempt of court because he wouldn't like turn over his assets, wouldn't tell him how much he makes. Pretty normal thing in a civil trial, if we're being honest. And then he had criminal charges as well. He was indicted with charged with 13 felonies, including racketeering, false statements, and conspiracy for trying to overturn the election. He had to surrender himself in Georgia, and he actually faced multiple cases. He was being tried in Arizona and Michigan as well. And all have been, either dismissed or stalled for whatever administrative reason, kind of like the Epstein stuff. If the government doesn't want you to get prosecuted, even though you're guilty as hell, the government can make that happen. We're seeing that happen in real time right now. But he got out of it because, he was pardoned. Rudy Giuliani, he was the mayor of New York. He was known as the lawyer mayor. He's been disbarred in DC and in New York. So, still continuing with the election lies, and it's probably just going to continue until someone puts his ass in prison. So that's Rudy Giuliani, still going at it. MAGA, still going at it, still talking about the stolen election. That's probably one of my main issues with this current Republican Party, is that they just don't live in the same reality as everyone else, and the stolen election is just another example of that. So we'll keep you updated on the 2020 election. Hopefully someone still goes to prison for that, but I won't hold my breath. But either way, I'll keep you updated. You guys stay tuned.